The hardest part of a breakup is realizing the person who once felt like home is now just a memory you're trying to forget. Man, if you're listening to this, there is a very good chance you know exactly how that feels. Heartbreak is a universally painful experience, and yet it's one we're so often expected to just brush off and get over. Well, not today. Today, we're giving your heartbreak the real, undivided attention it deserves.
Welcome to this explainer on heartbreak, science, and healing. We're going to cover the anatomy of a broken heart, modern quiet breakups, the hidden grief we carry, and some highly actionable steps to actually let go and move on.
All right, Section 1, the anatomy of heartbreak. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this, because before we can heal the mind, we've got to understand what's happening in the body. Emotional pain, it's not just some dramatic poetry. It is a very real biological mechanism. Ever felt that literal ache in your chest after a brutal loss? Well, there's a documented medical condition for that called broken heart syndrome, or Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. When you go through a traumatic breakup, the intense emotional stress can actually physically weaken your heart's contractions. It basically mimics the symptoms of a heart attack, causing profound pain right in your chest or stomach, even if you are otherwise perfectly healthy. No way, right?
To put this into perspective, think about physical pain on one side versus social rejection on the other. Researchers at the University of California found something absolutely wild. When you experience social rejection, it lights up a part of your brain called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. And guess what else lights up that exact same area? Yeah, physical pain. As far as your neural pathways are concerned, your brain basically cannot tell the difference between a broken arm and a broken heart.
Social psychologist Ethan Kross, who studied these overlapping brain regions, hit the nail on the head when he said these results give new meaning to the idea that social rejection hurts. And, evolutionarily speaking, this makes total sense. Our brains have this built-in social attachment system. It uses the sensation of pain to force us to stay close to our people, because back in the day, being abandoned literally meant you wouldn't survive. So it hurts because your brain is just trying to keep you safe.
Moving on to Section 2. The modern quiet breakup. Let's look at how the digital age has completely shifted how relationships end.
There is a stark contrast between how things used to be and how they are now. We used to have loud breakups. We're talking tears, dramatic final conversations, demanding answers, getting definitive closure. But today, we're living in the era of quiet endings. This is that modern phenomenon where texts just kind of fade out, calls go unanswered, people get ghosted. We just quietly withdraw without making a scene, mostly to dodge the exhausting emotional mess of a real confrontation.
Which brings us to a really crucial question. Is this silence a sign of maturity, or is it just pure avoidance? I really want you to actively reflect on this. We love telling ourselves, oh, I'm just protecting my peace by walking away quietly. But is that genuine emotional growth? Or are we simply terrified of the sheer discomfort that comes with being completely honest with someone?
Sure, walking away looks clean on the surface, and it protects your dignity in the moment, but it comes with a massive hidden cost. When we skip those tough conversations, our relationship patterns go completely unnamed. Our mistakes are never examined, and whatever closure we think we get is pretty hollow. Worst of all, because we never articulate what went wrong, we risk repeating the exact same toxic dynamics in the next relationship. We're exiting love without actually understanding it.
And that naturally takes us to Section 3. The hidden grief of love.
So when we don't get that clear closure, and society kind of just shrugs off our modern breakup as no big deal, we enter what psychologists call disenfranchised grief. That's grief society just doesn't validate as legitimate. This happens when an ex-spouse passes away, or a non-traditional relationship ends, or even with intensely one-sided, unrequited love. Think about it. There's no bereavement leave or getting dumped. There are no societal rituals like funerals to help you process it. You're expected to just show up to work the next morning and pretend your world didn't just collapse. It leaves you feeling profoundly isolated.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the concept of love melancholy. Because your grief isn't validated by the outside world, you can get completely trapped. Love melancholy is this alluring, almost stubborn refusal to let go of your attachment to a lost person. It's essentially a revolt against a mourning process itself. Instead of moving on, you just obsessively ruminate on the loss, keeping the ghost of that relationship alive in your head, mostly because letting it die just feels way too final.
So how on earth do we break out of this loop? Welcome to Section 4, the dual process coping model.
This is a brilliant, evidence-based psychological framework developed by researchers Margaret Strobe and Hank Schutt. They found that healthy coping literally requires two distinct pathways. First, you've got loss-oriented processing. That's when you are fully sitting in the pain, expressing the despair, and confronting the bereavement head-on. But on the flip side, you have restoration-oriented processing. That's where you actively seek distractions, tackle new roles, and start taking steps to build your post-loss life. You absolutely need both to survive this.
And the secret ingredient making this whole thing work? Oscillation. Because healing is not a straight line, folks. You can't process everything all at once. Oscillation is that vital back-and-forth swing between facing your loss and engaging in normal daily distractions. Actually, scratch that, it's more like a pendulum. It is completely healthy to bawl your eyes out over old photos at 9 a.m. and then go grab lunch and laugh with your friends at noon. That swing, that is the exact mechanism of healing.
All right, now that we've got the theory down, let's get super practical. Section 5, Steps to Letting Go.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a really actionable framework. Clinical psychologist Antonio Pascual Leon developed this model to help people get unstuck from relationship grief, and it comes down to 3 concrete phases. Step 1, untangling your feelings. Step 2, understanding your deeper existential needs. And Step 3, revisiting the end to mourn your undeclared losses. Let's walk through these together.
Okay, step 1, untangling your feelings. Pascual Leon points out that after a breakup, anger and sadness usually get mashed together into this dense, confusing ball, kind of like when you mix all the colors of Play-Doh. You can't just wait for the storm to pass, you have to get in there, pull the anger apart from the sadness, and honestly ask yourself, where does it hurt? You've got to tease those emotions apart if you ever want to process them.
Then we hit step 2. This is where you have to stop beating yourself up and identify what you truly need beneath the surface. We always fixate on surface needs, right? Like, oh, I need a partner to go on vacations with. But you've got to dig deeper into your existential needs. The real raw pain is usually coming from something like, I need to feel valuable, or I need to feel lovable, and I need to feel like I have dignity. When a breakup threatens those core fundamental human needs, man, that is where the heavy psychological lifting has to happen.
And this brilliantly illustrates our final phase, Step 3, mourning undeclared losses. Because you're not just missing the person, are you? You're missing the future you thought you were going to have. You have to actively say goodbye to the hopes, the dreams, the vacations you saved brochures for, the house you were going to buy. It sounds intense, but you kind of have to put up little tombstones in your mind for those futures that will never materialize. Acknowledging that lost potential is absolutely crucial for finalizing your grief.
So here's the ultimate takeaway. Pain changes you, for sure, but healing transforms you. As this quote beautifully synthesizes, not every love story has a happy ending, but every ending leads to a new beginning. We can't rewrite the past, but by understanding the actual science behind your pain and doing the work to actively process your grief, you are absolutely shaping a much kinder, brighter future for your heart.
Before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, provocative question to ponder. What has your heartbreak ultimately taught you about yourself? Because heartbreak reveals a kind of resilience you probably didn't even know you had until you were forced to use it. Take that lesson, find the meaning in your experience, and let it propel you forward. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.